Today's pickle making day. I've got all my ingredients laid out. I've got 7 pounds of cucumbers, more behind me that you don't see here. Garlic, mustard seed, bay leaves, dill seed, some pickle crisp. I've got my apple cider vinegar, my pickling salt. Jar lids are there. Jars are in the water bath, keeping warm because you don't want to add hot liquid to cold jars. That's a setup for cracking. So the next task is to get all these cucumbers sliced up. I'm doing sliced pickles, kosher dills. One of the things I've discovered is to use a mandolin slicer to slice my pickles. Makes it a lot easier than slicing them by hand. So I just run them along the slicer lengthwise, and they go right into a bowl, and they're ready for dropping in the jar. The recipe I'm using calls for each jar to have 1 bay leaf, 1 garlic clove, a half teaspoon of mustard seed, 1.5 teaspoons of dill seed, and 1/8 teaspoon of dill crisp or pickle crisp. So I've got those mixed up here, and I'll put those in each jar as I fill them. The recipe I'm using calls for 4 cups of apple cider vinegar and 4 cups of water. And the difference between kosher dills and just dill pickles is kosher dills use a vinegar brine, whereas dill pickles use a salt brine. It's just a matter of flavor for me. I prefer less salt and the tangier taste of the vinegar. You can do whichever you prefer. Either method is fine. The recipe I'm using calls for 4 cups apple cider vinegar, 4 cups of water, 3/4 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of pickling salt, and 3 tablespoons of pickling spice, which I've tied in a bag. I'll bring this to a boil and let it simmer for about 15 minutes so those pickling spices can all get infused in that brine. And then we'll be ready to put some pickles in the jars. So I've got the warm jar out of the canning water. I've filled it with sliced cucumbers. I've put the dry mixture with the bay leaf, the garlic, and the other dill seed, those kinds of things, in the bottom of the jar. And then I'm going to just fill this with brine to about 1/2 inch headspace, so about the second ring on the jar. Put the lids on, put them back in the canning pot. So I'll do that process about 5 more times. 7 pounds of cucumbers will make about 5 pints, maybe 6 pints, depending on how small I sliced them. Plenty for eating. You can see the dill seeds and the mustard seeds floating up on top, which is fine. That's not a problem. These are going to taste so good. One of the things I always forget to do with the first jar is to wipe the jar rim before I put the lid on. This makes sure that we'll get a better seal by doing that. And then I take the warm jar lid, put it on, tighten the ring, just hand tight, don't cinch it down too much, and then it goes back into the canning pot. I've got the jars filled. I came out with 7 pints of pickles. I didn't use the full 7 pounds, so I have about 2 pounds of cucumbers left. So 5 pounds of cucumbers got me 7 jars of pickles, 7 pints. I've got them in the water bath canner. They're covered by at least 1/2 inch of water. I'm going to put the lid on, bring these to a hard boil, and let them boil for about 15 minutes. And then turn it off, let them cool a little bit, take them out and sit. I find that they taste better if I give them a couple of weeks to sort of sit in that brine and soak up all that goodness. Couple of things to note. I'm not a master canner by any means. I'm not licensed, certified, anything. I try and use safe canning practices and safe canning recipes from the Ball Blue Book, but I encourage you to do your own research. Do what you think is right for your family. This recipe is from a safe canning site, and I've used it for the last 5 years and had great luck with it. But you need to do your own your own research and look into what works best for your family. The pickles have processed for 15 minutes in the water bath, and it's still steaming hot, as you can tell. So I'm going to take these out now and put them on a towel on the counter and let them sit for 24 hours without disturbing them. You notice I'm putting them on a towel instead of setting them right on the cool counter. Hot jars and a cool counter is a sure recipe for cracking. Some of you have asked why I use dried dill seed in my pickles instead of fresh dill. And for me, the answer is just convenience. Seems like the dill's never ready for picking when all of the cucumbers are ready. So it just makes it easier if I use dried dill seed and I know exactly how much to use. Thanks for tagging along while I made kosher dill pickles today. I hope you enjoyed it and hope that you will share and like and subscribe to my channel. It helps my channel grow and I appreciate it so much. Take care, y'all. Have a great day wherever you are.